The meeting's about to begin. It's March 12th, 2025, 6:01. Liz, please call the roll. Tracy Bax is excused for tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Archie?
Here.
Councilmember Myers?
Here.
Councilmember Zajac? Here. Council Chairperson Perry?
Here. Okay, David Zajac will begin the pledge tonight.
Lord, today we ask for your calming love in a time of uncertainty, chaos, and turbulence in our state, our country, and in our world. We ask for your guidance as we look to make decisions that affect all that we have sworn to uphold and defend. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path and help us to stay on track. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got a lot of feedback here tonight. Okay, we have no presentations for this evening. So we will move right on to the speakers on agenda items for tonight. Do we have a list of speakers for agenda items?
Yes, sir. we do. Our first speaker is going to be Cherish Wheels, agenda item number 2.
This is 5 years almost to the day since I very first stood at this podium and spoke about this issue. And here we are still. As many of you know, I've been following the short-term rental saga since it began, where we determined that the finite resources of our government needed to be spent to regulate short-term rentals, aka Airbnbs. How many issues do we have related to short-term rentals in the last 5 years or even prior to that? The answer to that is less than 1% of 1%, and that data is from Airbnb. When it comes to public safety issues, that's what it is. We have zoned people out, taken away their property rights, and we promised to revisit that zone every year when that ordinance, which was unnecessary, was passed, and that hasn't been revisited. We have spent countless amounts of dollars in the finite resources of the city enforcing the code, zoning committees, the process for code enforcement to inspect, all of the things that it takes to implement an ordinance that doesn't even address a priority of this city. We have lots of issues. And then on top of it, it reduces the choice for tourists wanting to come here. We are short hotel rooms. We could have more tourists staying here. I've said it before, tourists spend on average $86 a day outside of their accommodations. So if we have more rooms for them to stay in, we bring more business to the city to help our residents of the city. So today on the agenda, the item I'm speaking to is Granicus. We hired Granicus 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I believe it was. I think it started out at $30,000 a year. I believe it's around $37,000 is what we're looking to pay them and to renew the contract for. And for those who don't know what Granicus does, they support this unnecessary ordinance by providing a way for people to register online, which, by the way, their site was down for somewhere between 8 to 12 months, so they weren't even operating from that perspective, and we paid them for a year while their site wasn't working. People that were panicking because they weren't being grandfathered in if they missed their renewal dates were coming to the city hall. Many of you know this, with their paperwork because they couldn't do it on Granicus. They have misidentified properties. One property in particular that I'm aware of was a bed and breakfast, not a short-term rental. It falls under different code. The person was so distraught by the threatening letter that misidentified her property, she hired an attorney. So at the end of the day, does it really make sense to spend $36,000 of our precious finite resources to hire a company to enforce a law that we don't even need, that just causes the city more work and more taxpayer dollars, and that hurts our tourism industry? Make this make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. We have a registration process for long-term rentals. You have to provide proof of insurance, you have to register your name, etc. Why is that not good enough for people who are staying less than 30 days, but good enough for our residents? Why don't we just eliminate our short-term rental ordinance and move to an ordinance that is applicable to both 30 days or more, or 30 days or less? Are we redlining our tourists? Seriously. We require them to notify their neighbors if they want to have a short-term rental, and the neighbors get a say in whether or not they can have that property operate. You can't do that with long-term rentals. There's Fair Housing Act laws and such that prevent that because of policy past issues around that. But it's okay for less than 30 days? This is a waste of our government resources, of our tax dollars, and we have so many more important things to focus on. So I would ask that this be declined as it relates to the Granicus renewal, and I would really ask that you honestly, seriously revisit whether we need a short-term rental ordinance or not. Thank you.
Been a long time. Shouldn't have left you. My first is I'm glad that we're getting the roller for the streets, but I really am advocating that we have some parameters and some strength on DPW. You guys know I have a long-standing issue with DPW and their total inability for 2 years to fix a playground for disabled children. So I don't know how they can even handle this thing. So I'm concerned that, as usual, there's no parameters over we're getting this thing. Where are they? What's going to be long-term goal? How soon? How fast? Where? So on top of approving this, you guys need to put some parameters, goals, milestones, benchmarks on what they're supposed to do and when we're spending this money on. And then following with that concept, that's my issue with number 2, Granicus. What can the other companies do? I have managed a property and gotten a note from Granicus, and I was like, this is wrong. Property hasn't been registered for 2 years. The landlord's just been renting it out. It went from short-term to long-term, and they've gotten that wrong. And then we've had, at one of the zoning board meetings, somebody had to physically come and complain about an illegal short-term rental because Granicus hadn't picked that up. So what are we defining makes it worthwhile to renew this contract? What are the parameters? Could the money be spent elsewhere? Because, I mean, what is the competition saying? We're kind of like saying we should renew the contract, and I looked for other information in the deck and I didn't get it, but why Granicus? What has it done to justify its renewal? Has it saved the city money? Do we know how much it saved with all of these things? I mean, we've got issues right now where we deal with where people are calling about short-term rentals and people are like, well, it's code enforcement. Well, no, it's the cops, and back and forth. That's something that money could be gone to, I don't know, create a special division to deal with those unique issues where the cops don't want to get involved and code enforcement is gone for the weekend. That's just, my concern is what has Granicus done to deserve this renewal, and should we not postpone it and greater review what it offers, what its competitors offer, and maybe split the difference and see what kind of a enforcement group we can to make use of what it's doing, or maybe scrap it altogether. Thank you.
Good evening, illustrious council. In regards to agenda item number 2, Granicus, I personally was on a test drive of what we call our Granicus management software, and it is I'll put it this way, it is either wholly inadequate for what we needed to do, or we are not using it properly, and therefore we are wasting the money on this software. And this is from personal experience of using the software and the realization of what the software is giving us and how we're using it or not using it versus what's actually on the ground in real life. And it doesn't match, it's inconsistent, on top of the issues of using it. So I spoke about this when I was up there, $30,000. That absolutely, in my opinion, should be used for other code enforcement, law enforcement resources. Now, where am I coming from this? I am in agreement that we need code enforcement, law enforcement, and ordinance, and here's why. Right now, I should have brought it, but I could bring you a stack of illegal STRs operating illegally and illegally, well, number one, illegally operating, and number two, they shouldn't even be an STR. So we need a enforcement. And what do I mean by illegally operating? Well, for example, I'll give you a specific rule. Per the code, you're not supposed to have third floor bedroom space up there. But I could bring you a stack of STRs that have bedroom space up there. Or you want another one? How about bedrooms in the basement? That's below the window in the basement. I could give you a stack of SCRs that has bedrooms below the window that you can't put bedrooms there. But we have them operating throughout the zone, let alone outside of the zone. So we do need a combination of code enforcement and law enforcement resources to make sure we clean up this STR zone, because that also creates increased costs. That also creates possibly a lawsuit. You could look up Toronto right now, and the city is almost responsible for deaths that occurred because STRs are violating fire code, health code, and all the other codes. So I think there is an effort that we need to use these resources. I would consider to the council that we use these resources that we're going to give to Granicus and put it back into the administration in terms of code enforcement and law enforcement. And that's just scratching the surface. And also with that, in that same vein, we want to maintain the neighborhood fabric of 4th Street, 5th Street, 12th Street, 16th Street. Wherever we put STRs, we want to maintain that fabric. What do you mean, Vincent? Get specific. Okay, I will. If you have an STR, a short-term rental, that's piling in people, instead of having a 2-bedroom, now it's 5, 6, 7 bedrooms. But does it have the parking space for all those people that's coming in to visit? If there's 7 bedrooms and there's 7 more cars, if I live on that street, guess what? I may have to park somewhere else, and I don't have, and I'm walking, maybe I'm elderly, it's nighttime, I'm walking home, I got to try to walk through an unlit place. That may not be safe for me. Or I just live on the block, I gotta go to work, I can't find parking, now I'm upset, now I'm angry, and we're destroying the fabric of the neighborhoods. So I'm advocating that we have a percentage of each block. Going beyond just the ordinance, we update the ordinance to include some health stuff, some county stuff. Because if you wanna operate like a business, guess what? You gotta act like a business. You got to act like a business. So that's what I'm advocating for. And then on each block, we maintain that. And this is something that I'm just proposing. Maybe it's 10% of the houses, 20% of the houses, 40% of the houses, half the block. I don't know. That's something we can all decide. But that number of houses, once that block has been saturated to that point, no more STRs, because we have to maintain the fabric. I am all down for business and tourists coming in to have a nice alternative, but we got to maintain the fabric of our city. And lastly, item number 5, totally switching gears, going in another gear. Do we know anything? I didn't see any notes on this. Do we know? Is that a car crash? Is that a tree? Did something happen on that we're paying out $65,000? I'm just curious. I didn't see any notes on that. So thank you.
Our next speaker is Jacqueline Pryor. She intends to speak on all of the agenda items. Is she? She was here. Okay, I guess there are no other speakers.
Does anybody have any community events to announce?
Yeah, Niagara Falls Black Achievers is actually awards dinner is this weekend at the Niagara Conference Center. I think there's tickets still available online. Starts at 5:30.
Anybody else?
There's a class of 2026 basket raffle and Chevette's chicken dinner next Friday at Niagara Falls High School. All proceeds will help the class of 2026 offset the costs of their prom.
All right, moving on to item 4, agenda item 4. We're now at the part where, are there any motions to amend the agenda items? We've had the agenda since last Friday in various forms. Do we have any motions to amend the agenda by roll call vote? If not, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as proposed?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Liz, will you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Archie,
Yes.
Councilmember Miles,
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry,
Yes?
4 yeas.
Okay, motion is approved. All right, now we have the minutes from February 26th to review. Are there any corrections from the minutes? No? Okay, then let the minutes be approved as distributed. Nothing from the clerk's office this evening, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, moving on to agenda items, legislative items. Legislative item number 1. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that the council vote to approve and authorize the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Milton Cat Dealership for a new Caterpillar asphalt wheel paver for the Department of Public Works, and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with said vendor as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please? I will not restate the motion unless I'm requested to do so. Is there any information requests? Any opposition? Okay, Liz, please call the roll.
Councilmember Archie,
Yes.
Councilmember Miles,
Before I vote on this, I just have to make a quick statement. I feel like we need this. Just call it what it is. If anybody rides the city streets of Niagara Falls, you can see that our streets are totally ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about the water main breaks. I'm talking about potholes that continuously get worse through our entire city. With that being said, We blew through $58 million last year. We blew through 50, like responsible kids that's not used to having money. We literally blew through, an $8 million pole barn, a $4.1 million possible animal shelter. And these city streets been looking this way for a long time. This machine, I know the finances are coming from a space that, it fits right with this machine, but like I said, those millions of dollars that we wasted, we could have bought this machine along with some plows, new vehicles for our DPW, because they're probably one of the most hated departments in the city. Everybody who comes to that, most of the time you guys talk to us, you're talking about the snow, the streets, the salt, the potholes and all of that. All I'm saying is that I hope that we begin to start making some more fiscally financial decisions up here that makes fiscal sense. Because we could have bought this, and now I'm quite sure there's going to come a time where we're probably going to be buying another plow or something else that we should have utilized this money that fit. It's because it's public safety. It fits. All of the stuff I'm talking about right now fit right in the ARP fund. So with that being said, I'm just putting that out there because at the end of the day, there has to be some accountability up here and those absentees over there. It has to be some level of accountability. So I say yes to this, of course.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry,
Yes,
4 yeas.
4 yeas, motion's adopted. Legislative item number 2, may I have a motion, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve and authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Granicus that will extend that vendor services relative to the city's short-term rentals for a 4th year, as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please? Information requests?
Yeah, we had remember this conversation coming up prior to council with the ordinance as it was presented. And it's back again in listening to the questions from the gallery. I'm wondering, what information is there to see the viability of the software? Like what has it improved in terms of the violations? What in comparison to code enforcement and what they actually would be doing to help regulate? Are we receiving a benefit, I guess is what I'm asking.
So, Granicus has its critics in the code department, but despite those, the men and women who enforce the code have told me that they need the Granicus contract renewed. So they see value in it. If they support it, I do. Is any software perfect? I don't like how Microsoft Outlook works for me when I'm on their web-based platform. I think it's awful. But I use Outlook on my desktop. I think anyone in the room can think of a major software provider, which this is what Granicus is.
Mm-hmm.
For those who think they know everything, the contract is a software as a solution contract. S, lowercase a, capital S. This is new speak among all the tech companies for software contract. It is software. The department has been told that if they are unhappy with Granicus, then they have to be prepared to come up with some alternatives at the end of this 4th year. Because if they're not satisfied with Granicus, we will be looking for another vendor. On the other hand, as I said, they have pushed this item forward. They say it's needed. The contract has actually lapsed since late February, and they say that they have a lot of people waiting to register, and they need Granicus back online as soon as possible.
Do we know what happened the 8 months it was down?
I'm not familiar with that, and did that happen in 2024?
I mean, I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know either, so I can't comment on what happened in 22, 23. I have no idea.
So I would like for maybe somebody from code to come and maybe just talk about how this is going to help them. I don't think it's I mean, if we're already over, like we can
We
wait.
do not have the power to summon code enforcement.
We can ask, though.
officers to come here and to justify why they want the Granicus contract.
I think we can ask, though. It's worth the ask. I would ask to postpone, and if they decide not to, I mean, why not?
There is no alternative ready to go, right? And
Okay.
we have it.
No,
We
I
have-
hear.
We have an ordinance. We have an ordinance that I know some people would like it to evaporate and just go away. Short of that happening, we need a mechanism to help us enforce the code. And Granicus does help in terms of smoking out the illegal operators. They assist on that. They assist with our registration. They're not a luxury. They're necessary.
Okay?
Mr. Du Bois, is Granicus still currently being used, or is it outside of contract, so we're not able to access it?
All the services have been put on hold since, I think, February 27th.
So it's not currently able to be accessed by?
Correct. So
it's down 1 month.
the department is feeling the pressure of those wheels and have stopped turning. And there are a number of SDR operators who are anxious to renew. And they want to do it through the Granicus portal, which allows them to do it over the internet without having to come into City Hall and make an appointment. Some of our SDR owners are possibly out-of-state owners, so it's an advantage to them. For those who are SD owners who live locally, it's not such an impediment because they can come into the City Hall and file their paperwork. But for those people who rely on the website to renew, they're being held up.
Anything else?
Are we on the opposition? Because that's where I want to speak on.
Well,
There's probably still questions. I don't have any questions for him.
Okay. Any more information? More information?
I can't hear you. What you say?
He asked if there's opposition. I said, we're still information. So,
Well, no, I have enough information. For me, I would
Okay,
hold
so
it. I would table until we like that.
opposition.
All right, so, there's a, so we had this whole, let's say this ordinance that came after a 20-month silence from the administration. This was during COVID. And the first, silence breaker, the biggest problem that we so-called had in the city of Niagara Falls, according to those seats over there, was STR rentals. And if I was to ask 75 to 95% of the community what was the biggest problems in the city, I promise most of them would not say STR rentals. With that being said, we hired this company to supposedly regulate, and I love, Mr. Councilman Archie, how your question was answered by with an answer that you didn't, from a question that you didn't ask. I'll answer the question for you. They didn't do anything. They didn't make anything better. Now there's no report stating that, we have less, illegal STRs. There's no report stating that, there's some type of, enforcement from whether it's Granicus or any collaboration with Granicus or anything else. They're doing something that a 15-year-old could do with their cell phone. So we're spending money for a service that we're not getting. And there's a block of time where they were down and none of us were notified. The city wasn't notified about, even in our little text messages that we get, we weren't notified that Granicus was down for 8 to 12 months. So that lack of transparency by itself raises so many red flags and got my antennas all up. So with this being the case, again, and I'm saying the same thing that I said before, we need to be fiscally, financially responsible. It is irresponsible for us to, and I'm tired of, especially when it comes down to these renewal of or extensions of these contracts that's not doing nothing for the city. We already did one with the dog shelter, and we see where that led us, right? We have another situation sitting in front of us right now, and we've talked about this, of course, in the previous council, as to what have they done? What have you done for us lately, right? So, with that being the case, we have this in front of us, but what never comes before us, and I think that's a problem, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and I feel like we should put that on the table, is when these contracts come to be extended, they need to come with some type of report showing exactly what you did for us during that time. So, I'm on a different edge. I don't feel like we should extend this contract period. I don't think that we need to actually postpone it. I don't think that we need to table it. I think we need to decline this contract solely because they have not shown us, and I'm not talking about, don't answer questions, don't give me an answer to a question that I didn't ask. The question is what have they done to make illegal short-term rental STRs in the city of Niagara Falls better? What have they done to eliminate those? And the answer is, short and simple, nothing. They have not changed it. So if we're willing, I'm not willing. So I already know what my vote is. I'm hoping that my colleagues kind of keep that in mind. If we're that's throwing money away. And I don't care if it's $36,000. It's still $36,000. We still don't have a secretary for city council. How about that? And that's $36,000 that we're going to give to another entity that's not actually doing anything for the city. So that's my opposition. Thank you. I'm good. But yeah.
Counter that. About 6 months ago, I did have a conversation about this firm with the mayor, and they were providing data. Now, I'm not saying that it's perfect, but what's the alternative? Now, I'm not defending it. I'm not saying you're totally wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I get what you're saying, but if this alternative is not doing absolutely nothing but doing something that my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, could do on her cell phone, she can gather data. That's not the issue. It's kind of like one of those things that if they're not servicing and doing what they told us, because guess what? I was the one. We all had to vote on this. So if they're not doing what they said that they were supposed to do, they said regulation. They were talking about having Granicus is going to help us get rid of these illegal Airbnbs or illegal short-term rentals, and that's what they painted the picture. So now here we are 3 years or some odd later, and we're asking the question, did they do what they said they were going to do, or what they painted the picture to the people and to us as a council body? as what they were going to do. Now, I know it's a new council. You guys didn't vote on that. But we were here with it. We asked the questions and we asked, hey, what is this? What is it going to do for us? And then they said what they were supposedly going to do, and they absolutely didn't. All they're doing is just okay, well, you have this short term. And then as we can see here, they have multiple people that they did wrong. They gauged it wrong, had wrong, long-term rentals listed as short-term rentals. If they're not even efficient at doing their job. So why would we, there's not, what is it? It's kind of like, well, let's just throw the money there because there's nothing else to be in the place of something that doesn't do nothing for the city anyway. We can't.
That's why I would say to table it, because we need more information. I wouldn't kill it for the department. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Let's not penalize who are working.
If you want to table it, I'm with it, but I think we should close it.
At this point, what I am going to make, I would like the full report on what actually was done, because this was months ago that I've had this conversation. I would like to get a full report, and in order to do that, I would like to delay action on this
Excuse me.
to post, yeah.
Excuse me.
We had this problem last time too. You have to quit speaking because we're trying to record this, and all this talking in the background is interfering with the recording. So Liz can't take proper notes if she can't hear what's going on. So please, bear with us, will you? Thank you. Now, what I would like to do is make a motion on the floor to postpone this until our next meeting to vote on it, so I can get a full report on what actually has happened. Would someone second that? Okay, so Brian seconds the motion to postpone. Okay, the motion is on the floor to postpone. Vote.
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac?
Well, I will side with my colleagues in postponing. As I was going to say earlier when we were discussing it, I just hope there's no further delay or any issues that's causing that department. I know Councilmember Archie had mentioned that. Our code enforcement department that enforces this. So my vote is a yes to postpone it. I just hope that this isn't any detriment to that department.
Council Chairperson Perry? Yes. 4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion to postpone is adopted. Okay, moving on to legislative item number 3. May I have a motion to?
Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve the waiver of city parking fees at the surface lot on 238 3rd Street on March 15, 2025 for the benefit of Black Achievers, Inc., as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, information requests? Opposition? Liz, please call the roll.
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac?
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, motion's carried. Legislative item number 4. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve the waiver of city parking fees at the surface lot on 238 3rd Street on March 21, 2025 for the benefit of Community Missions of Niagara Frontier, Inc., as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Information requests? Opposition? Okay, Liz?
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac?
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, motion's carried. Legislative item number 5. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve the waiver of city parking fees at the surface lot on 238 3rd Street on March 20, 2025 for the benefit of Niagara University's 8th Annual Statewide Youth Action Conference, as more fully outlined in the mayor's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Information requests? Opposition?
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac, Yes. Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion's carried. Legislative item number 6, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve $65,000 indemnity-only Section 32 settlement relating to a pending workers' compensation matter as more fully outlined in the Acting Corporation Council's recommendation memo dated March 6, 2025.
May I have a second, please? Second. Information request? Opposition? Yes.
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion's carried. Item number 7, may I have a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move the council vote to approve a resolution relative to amending the appointment of Patrick Ciccarelli to the Zoning Appeals Board.
May I have a second, please? Second. Okay, information request. Opposition? Yes.
Councilmember Archie?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Zajac,
Yes.
Council Chairperson Perry?
Yes.
4 yeas.
4 yeas, the motion's carried. Now we're moving on to public speakers. Now, I hope you all read the items and we don't get all sidetracked and get crazy. So with that list, call the first person, please.
Okay. First speaker is Sean Mapp.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Mapp, and I stand before you not just as a resident for the 4th District, but as someone who is tired of seeing the same problems go ignored while leadership pat themselves on the back for doing the bare minimum. We've been told things are getting better, but let me ask you, have you driven down our roads lately? And it's not just our roads, our parks, public spaces, even basic services. Everything seems to be neglected. Speaking of neglect, where is the county aid in all of this? More explicitly, where is our 4th District legislator? It's alarming to me that most people don't even know who holds this position. It feels like a real-life game of Where's Waldo, except no matter how hard you look, he's nowhere to be found. This isn't just a lack of leadership, it's a complete failure of transparency and accountability. Let me be clear, this isn't a money problem. The city has a budget exceeding $100 million every year. This issue isn't funding, it's where is the money going? We don't need higher taxes or bigger budgets, we need accountability. When the public funds services, we should see tangible results. But let me not be cynical. I think it's imperative we give solutions simultaneously. Here's what we need. We need real infrastructure investment, not just election year patch-up jobs. We need government transparency so people know where their tax dollars are going. We need economic development that benefits residents, not just outside investors or political sponsors. And we need stronger families, stronger households, and real support for our youth. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about roads or budgets. It's about building a future where people want to stay, work, and raise their families. So we are here to set a new standard, a standard where leadership means delivering results, not excuses, a standard where public money means public benefit, a standard where this city finally moves forward, not just on paper, but in reality. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I say we have our work cut out for us. Let's get to it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Belton.
Bob Belton, 2951 21st Street. I've seen several times that the mayor has put a recommendation memo, and I've searched for it both on the city's website and on the World Wide Web, and I can't find it. If this continues going forward, I would ask you to table all those items until they are posted, either in the supporting documents or with your agenda. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tanya Barone.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to start off with the flyer from Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center. I happened to be changing my birds' cages and was going to use it to line the cage, but I thought it was interesting. It says, "What would your family lose if Niagara Falls Memorial no longer operated as a full-service hospital? Women would no longer be able to deliver their babies in Niagara County or receive emergency cesarean sections to save the mother or the newborn, emergency life-saving procedures to respond to heart attacks and strokes, essential behavioral health services, emergency surgeries for gallbladder attacks, appendicitis, etc., dialysis services, important gastro procedures." It was troubling, but I'm wondering if that flyer is at all related to them not getting a portion of the casino funds. So I'm here to speak on that. As you might be aware, the agreement between the state of New York and the Seneca Nation expired at the end of 2023, and this 99H compact designated shared funding between the school district, NFTA, NF Memorial Medical Center, the Underground Railroad Heritage Center, and Destination Niagara, our county's leading tourism agency. These 5 organizations have been negatively impacted by the loss in funding. Even though the city administration is no longer obligated in writing to provide a portion of this funding, it's my feeling and opinion that we have a responsibility to support these important and vital institutions. The Niagara Falls School District received around $750,000 annually. In 2023, the final year of the 99H compact, the district received $716,000. With the potential of a federal education funding decrease, this could negatively impact our schools, our children's education, and necessary programs, including the summer school programs. Parents also rely on those as well. The CEO of our local hospital has received as much as $750,000 in previous years, which helps sustain vital services such as renal dialysis, stroke and cardiac care, behavioral health, and without the quality and easily accessible health care for our residents, our community will suffer huge consequences. Our residents may have to seek care outside of this area. The future of our children and health of our community are 2 of the most important and valuable assets. I feel this revenue and the share of the casino funding needs to be reevaluated as it helps sustain vital key components in our city and should not be used to fill budget gaps. We need to treat these organizations fairly, whether we have a compact in place or not. On a side note, I'd like to add that I would love to meet the other council candidates. If any of them are here tonight, feel free to come up to me and introduce yourself. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Our next speaker is Vincent Cawley.
Good evening again. Just a few issues that I want to discuss. Number one, some people call it WWE, if you want to call it that, but the NFR, eminent domain showdown that we have going on. You know what? I have thought about it. I like the idea of jobs infrastructure and technology. How about you? You know, we're still in this malaise of forget about what's going on. Where is the feasibility study? Do we have that yet? Has that been published? Maybe you guys have a copy of it. I would love to see it myself. Maybe it could be in crayon, colored pencil, marker, anything. Love to see that. You know, and where are those surveys? In this room, a couple years ago, there were people that said that spoke out and said what they wanted to say about the plan. Where are those surveys for public consumption? Where are they? Because to me, it just still isn't making sense. I have yet to get an opposite story of first there was the idea of a digital campus, then all of a sudden we want to take the land to build a park on it. That story I haven't seen a change yet to that story. Please let me know. Going back to our lighting, what type of technology for our lighting? I thought it was just LED lights. Is there something else going there? Are we becoming a smart city? Are we developing a digital police state type infrastructure? What savings do we have? Can we get a controller's report that shows us the savings? In the Madam Clerk's notes on February 26th, this is item number 3 in regards to our animal control. There was $1,509 for extra dogs. What does that even mean? What was that? They're talking about closing the shelter in April. Can we just get a full explanation of the state of our animal control? What is going on with the building, with the DPW building? I've seen there's work going on there. Is it going to be an animal shelter? Is the $4 million going somewhere? What is going on with the old DPW building in Hyde Park? And lastly, with anything, I always say, please come at your boy. Please come at me with any questions about contributions, campaign stuff, or even questioning my motives. Because I'm not swayed by money at all. It's got nothing to do with contributions. I don't care about it. That it means nothing. It means nothing. It's about the principle of the matter. As a city, we deserve better. As a city, we can do better. And as a city, we should have better. And we have to do better. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dante Richardson.
Thank you. Man. I haven't been up here in a while. I really didn't prepare a speech. Last time I was up here, I believe it was last year around this time. My biggest problem with the city is economic development. We don't spend enough money on it. Our economic development department has a budget of $260,000. That's less than a house in DeVoe. How do we expect to grow the economy with that? And the last time I was up here, I just got finished actually talking to the mayor the following week. We was talking about something that's never on the agenda items. It's never been talked about by council either. It's literally called jobs. Like, I've been to multiple council meetings and I never heard anybody discuss jobs. I look at multiple candidates, I never hear them discuss jobs. And that's the only thing that's gonna lift the city up. But for some reason, it seems like we're in a city that doesn't understand the world of global commerce as we live in it today. And what should be the next actual steps to take our city to the next level. So, all I gotta say is just keep doing a great job. You guys are passing all of the great items that I need you to pass to show exactly the city that some people just don't belong in this space. They handle government business.
And that'll be all for me.
Our next speaker is Janine Gallo.
I'm Janine Gallo. Every 2 weeks, I'm just puzzled. I come in and I have something to talk about, and just in the last 20 minutes, I have 40 things to talk about. And I'll just use an example of the company that could be closed for 8 to 12 months and ask for a renewal. I don't see anything wrong with that. We haven't had a dog shelter in 20 months, so they're not that bad. And they don't make $20,000 a month. Okay, so I guess Tom is right. Just pass it. Just pass it. Oh, we'll table it and wait till Karen comes back to vote, so it's 3-2. Let's do the 3-2s. Because tonight, I don't think it would have passed. The guy at the end would have been purple if he had to make a decision on his own. Okay, so, I mean, let's be real. Okay, so in 2023, in February, it was announced at a Grand Island Planning Board that the contract was taken. 6 months later, it was an emergency here in Niagara Falls, and we had to give it to somebody because we had no choice. That person now gives a 60-day notice, and I guess because Pax is not here for a yes, we don't want to talk about it. So we got to make sure we get the 3-2 vote solid, and then there'll be 40 things on the agenda. So tonight we took it easy with 7 because we don't have a sure thing, and I'm sure he's going to get in trouble because that was tabled. Okay? And then we have the spokesperson for the mayor up there because everything, is the mayor. The mayor says it, so it's right. Okay? He goes on again. I think I passed up there pictures of a dog that on a podcast that our people represents us, the chairman that represents the people, decided to say, first of all, Paws in the Falls, our director is Nicole Dyer. It's not Janine. You can pick on Janine all you want, but Nicole's untouchable. So you got to pick on Janine. She's the director of the facility. She runs the facility, okay? And her credentials speak so loudly that they just want to pick on Janine. But they can pick on me all they want. The complex speaks for itself, okay? It speaks for itself. The doors are open. Anybody can come in there. It's doing wonderful. We certainly don't need chaos. It's run smooth. All the animals, smooth, okay? They're happy. But again, they go on a podcast, and he's supposed to represent and know the facts. Paws in the Falls doesn't have a stolen dog. You have the picture of the dog that was starved to death by the pit chick and her crew, okay, that they're saying I have, or Paws in the Falls has. They have a picture of my dog, Millie. You have her licenses from 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, and her birthday is May 4th, if anybody she's going to turn 4. Okay, that's the dog we stole. Stella's 14 years old. I think she'd be 15 by now. There's no comparison. My dog has 4 white paws. That dog has 4 black paws, okay? You don't have to be a detective to know a 4-year-old dog is not a 14-year-old dog. That dog has a white face and is a mixed breed. Millie is a blue-nosed pit bull, okay? She goes to Erie Bosie's on Fridays with the children since she's been 10 weeks old. The people that are accusing me of stealing a dog know Millie. Millie was adopted from Silver Lining Rescue. She came from Oklahoma. Her sister's name is Mindy, and her other sister's name is Maple. Maple lives in Boston, New York, in a $500,000 house. Millie's a little jealous, okay? But enough's enough with this crap. I'll give you an example. He sits there, we have a tree contract, but don't worry, it's $250,000, and they can't go over budget. I heard that last year. They can't go over budget. So if they cut 3 trees down, it's only $250,000. Miles goes and asks the question, well, how, that doesn't make sense. But don't worry, it won't go over budget. Now I'm sitting here watching all the lawsuits, the people getting hit by trees, okay? Along with the asbestos, it can't go over $250,000. Well, if 6 houses burn and you ran out of money, it's illegal not to take care of the business, isn't it? You guys don't make sense. You got Bozo the Clown there.
Our next speaker is Crystal Duchess.
Hi, as you know, I come here all the time about the dogs, so I'm going to do a brief summary of since I've been here. We came because SPCA couldn't take the contract, and you guys needed to find another shelter that would. We found the pit check. Obviously, we've been coming here recently telling you that she doesn't have the space. We showed permits, we told you stories, we played a phone call. Shockingly, now she's closing because she doesn't have the space. Fine, whatever, that's great. What are we supposed to do about the stray dogs? That is the problem. I can play another recording if you like, because we called Niagara Falls Dispatch this week about a stray dog in Niagara Falls, the city. You know what they said? We don't take those phone calls anymore. They don't. So what are we supposed to do? Tell me, that's literally why I'm here. It's not an emergency, it's not on the agenda at all. What are we supposed to do? Pitchek said she was gonna give 60 days. Apparently that's up already. She's refusing to take any dogs right now. She's trying to get rid of all her dogs. Understandably, she's supposed to be getting kicked out of her building. Makes sense. But what are we supposed to do now? You guys were worried about 14 days earlier in December to extend the contract. What about now? You have to wait 2 weeks until this next meeting, if you guys even have it on the next agenda. What are we supposed to do? That's all I have the question, that's all I have to ask. Because who are we supposed to call when we see a dog in the city? Tell me, because it's not Niagara Falls Dispatch. It's not Pit Check. Who am I supposed to call? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ken Hamilton.
Good evening. This year will mark my 46th year in addressing city councils in this very chamber. And that's longer than anybody else here. That I've written resolutions, told them what to do, established parks, skateboard park, Legends Park, Gill Creek, and so many other things. Every street in the city named after an African American, one-man committee. I know and understand government, and I know and understand what they're supposed to be doing. But I'm going to set this aside because this, Granicus thing? When I was a young man in the Navy, I pissed off my chief because I pissed off a lot of people. And he put me down on the mess decks to run the dining room. One day, I look on the menu, and we were having steak. So I said to one of my mess cooks, one of the people who worked in the dining room, go down to the supply and get a box of toothpicks for the people. He comes back up about 15, 20 minutes later. He says he couldn't get any. I says, why not? He says, Mr. Quinn, who was our supply officer, wouldn't give him any. I says, well, where is he? And he says, they call me Ike in the Navy. He says, Ike, you're the one who argues with officers, not me. So I go down, and I asked him, I says, Mr. Quinn, we're having steak for dinner. He says, I know, I'm the one who makes the menus. I says, I sent my mess cook down to get toothpicks, and you wouldn't give them to him. He says, no, I won't. I says, why not? He says, Hamilton, if I give you toothpicks, then there won't be any left in the storeroom. And he thought that was justification, even though he's the one who makes the menu. One of the things that we do, particularly people in government, is that there's one thing that needs to be done and another thing that needs to be done, and these are dueling competitive things that the public sees differently than the politician. What we have to know and understand is that why are we here and why are we doing what we are doing? And this, what's it, Granicus thing? Clearly that system's not working. We need somebody else. It's not too hard. I've been in technology since 1972. The Navy my job was technology. And if we can't get somebody in here who could do something as simple as what you have Granicus doing, then we don't deserve to have a tourist city. These people are ripping you off, and so many people rip you off. And it's like what Mayor, the firefighter, Palillo said about the attorney that everybody hated back in those days. He says, you people in city council don't get what you get because you're so smart. Oh, I'm sorry, he said it to the attorney. You people, the attorney, you don't get what you get because you're so smart. And I'm not saying this, I'm just reciting what he said, the mayor said about the council. He used to be a councilman. He says, he gets what he gets because you're so stupid. And stupid, now there's a difference between stupid and dumbness. And then we go back to Lieutenant Quinn and the toothpicks. There's a different set of priorities between government and government's needs and the people's needs. And how do you fulfill that? Is your job to make sure that we have everything that we need in order to have the storeroom so that we look good as a council, as a government? Or is it to serve the people of this city with what they need, when they need it, and how they need it? And so this is what I'm saying, is that what I just heard on that Granicus thing sounded just like Mr. Quinn telling me you couldn't have the toothpicks. But your guys, your primary responsibility is control of the budget. So I have one question for you. Where the hell is the comptroller? Where is the comptroller? You cannot have a meeting, and it's your job to know where every penny is at the drop of a hat, and that desk stands empty. Why?
Our next speaker is Arlene Doss.
Good evening. Arlene Doss, 1707 Virginia Avenue. Before I go into what I was talking about, what Kenny Hamilton just spoke on was called fiscally responsibility. There seems to be none in the city of Niagara Falls, and I am deeply saddened by every time one of our council members say we need to be fiscally responsibility, he get talked about like a dog. Somebody need to wake up and listen to that one council person. So I want to go back to this pig chick and the dog shelter. I think the last time you guys had an emergency meeting and you had to do a contract right away so we could take care of our animals here in the city of Niagara Falls. To my understanding, listening to the TV and everything that has gone on recently, there has been a serious breach in contract, and I thought when I came here tonight, there would be a plan to hold this meeting so we can develop a contract so these dogs and cats and birds and everything else that need to be taken care of here in the city of Niagara Falls. And here we all sit, and we are clueless about what's going to happen with our animals here in the city of Niagara Falls. At some point, you guys have got to start functioning as a city council, know how to establish and manage finances. And again, as Bob Belton said, I have searched for, per the memo of the mayor, just give me $200,000. But there's no concrete evidence of what it is that's not in the memo. What are we spending this money on, and why are we spending this money? I beg to differ with Councilman Miles. There's been over $100 million coming to the city of Niagara Falls in 2024. And I would like to say the only thing that I think is clean in the city of Niagara Falls is the corner of 1707 Virginia Avenue.
Our next speaker is Jacqueline Pryor. Ms. Pryor? All right, our next speaker is Lawrence Blaber.
Let Let me start with some background about me. Thanks to that wonderful university there and the crushing debt, I've got like about 3 degrees. I've graduated from the Small Business Services Program from the City of New York's Neighborhood Leadership Program. And I've led nonprofits, written a bunch of small business grants and all of that. I gave all of that up to move here and just have a normal job and work, like one of these movies where the guy just gives up this life of a gunslinger and is just gonna be a farmer. I came to a town that I thought functioned. I went here for university. I thought it would function. We are now in 2+ years of me coming here asking for you to fix this playground. I have done all the freaking legwork. I found the company, I found the parts, I found everything. They don't need any money. Everybody's here been talking about money, money. They don't need anything from the controller. They need you guys, either personally to tell them to deliver it to your office here, or call the public works guy to do his job. That's all they need. And they will mail it to him with directions on how to install the swing seat and anything else. It is warranted for another 5 years. That's all you have to do. That's why I've been here for so long. That's what started me on this journey. It's just fixing this playground for my kid. And it just seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Not the mayor, not you guys. Like, I'm not asking you guys to change laws, rules, and regulation. This is something you could literally pick up the phone. I'll give you his email, and nobody cares. And what's scary to me is if you don't care about something that's free and that's small, because it's easier to sell a damaged park and get more grant funding, what in the world will you care about? If you don't care about special needs kids, they're the most vulnerable of the most vulnerable. So I don't know what's going on, but you guys need to have a real think with yourself and soul search about why you won't do this one little thing. It's free. Thank you.
That is our last speaker. Last speaker.
Dante, wait.